Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share with you all my latest project. This is an overkill home theater PC I'm calling the HTBox 2.0. If you've been following my channel for a while, you might remember the HTBox 1. That was a home theater PC I built inside of an Xbox One S housing. And although that project was a lot of fun, it wasn't exactly the most practical PC I've ever built. I was only able to fit low power hardware inside the case, and even then I was never really able to get temperatures to a point I was happy with. So with this PC, I decided to go the complete opposite direction and build a home theater PC with the best possible hardware, capable of playing games at a full 4K 60 frames per second. I started out by looking at what other cases were out on the market already, and although there are some great cases out there like the Fractal Design Node 202, none of them had quite the hardware support I was looking for this project, so I decided to try my hand at building my own case. I decided to make the case out of laser cut acrylic, as it's a material I've worked with before, and I happen to have a friend who has a commercial laser cutter. I designed the case in a software program called Rhino 3D. I started by working on the basic design of the case in 3D and focused on the general layout, component compatibility, and the overall look of the case. From the 3D model, you can get a good idea of how the case is going to look and how the pieces are all going to fit together. Once I had the basic design of the case completed, I took the 3D model and laid out all the pieces in one 2D plane. It was at this point that I added additional details such as fan grills and mounting holes for all the components. When the design was finished, I selected all the parts and exported the selected objects to a vector file to be sent over to the laser cutter. And here it is, a stack of acrylic ready to be assembled. The case is made out of 1/4 inch matte black acrylic, and the panels are connected together using these 12mm modding cubes that are threaded on all 6 sides. Before we start putting this build together, I do want to take a minute and go over the components that are going to be used in this build, starting with the CPU. For the CPU, I went with the brand new Ryzen 9 3900X. I realized that a 12-core CPU is a little overkill for a home theater PC, but hey, overkill kind of turned out to be the theme of this build anyway. To keep the processor cool, I'll be using the Scythe Big Shuriken 3 CPU cooler. Even though this is a low-profile cooler, it's too tall to fit in most small form factor cases, but because I designed the case from scratch, I was able to make sure I had the clearance needed for this cooler. I'll also be replacing the stock fan that comes with the cooler with a 120mm fan from Noctua to help keep both the temperatures and noise levels down. For the motherboard, I went with the Asus X470i Strix Mini ITX gaming motherboard. I went with the X470 over the X570 because the only real difference between the two is PCI Gen 4, and I won't be using any PCI Gen 4 components for this build. For memory, I went with a 16GB kit of G.Skill Trident Z RGB clocked at 3200 MHz. For storage, I have a 500GB Western Digital Black NVMe SSD for the operating system, and an additional 1TB Samsung Evo SSD for games and media storage. For the graphics card, I'll be using the RTX 2080 Ti. This is the best consumer GPU on the market today, and should have no problems running even the most demanding titles at 4K. And finally, to power everything in the build, I will be using the Corsair SF600 SFX power supply. Well, that's it for the parts going into this build. Let's go ahead and put this system together. So here's the case fully assembled, and as you can see, it uses a 2-chamber design. The right side of the case houses the motherboard, power supply, and mounts for 2 SSDs. It's designed for the CPU cooler to pull in air from the top of the case and exhaust it through the side and back. The left side of the case holds the GPU and is elevated slightly to allow for air to be pulled from the bottom of the case and exhausted out of the side. So now that the build is complete, let's go ahead and hook this up to my TV, fire up some games, and see how it performs. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for letting me share this project with you. I'm absolutely thrilled with the way this build turned out. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to leave me a like, and while you're there, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.